to Britain now, where Prime Minister Keir Starmer is coming under growing pressure to resign as support within his governing Labour Party dwindles. Starmer is clinging to power, despite more than 80 lawmakers from his own party calling on him to step down. His opponents are not yet in a position to force him out, but challengers for the top job are waiting in the wings.
Keir Starmer has been on the back foot since local elections last week resulted in huge losses for his Labour Party. But he says he just wants to get on with the job of running the country.
I know that people are frustrated by the state of Britain, frustrated by politics, and some people frustrated with me. I know I have my doubters, and I know I need to prove them wrong, and I will. It's about taking responsibility to explain how, as a political and electoral force, we will be better and do better in the months and years ahead.
With the UK economy going nowhere, critics say that while Starmer is willing to take responsibility for failures, what's lacking is a coherent plan to tackle a cost of living crisis that was already biting even before the Iran war. There's no shortage of challenges to Starmer's leadership. On the left of the party, the former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner is popular among voters and is known for her plain-speaking approach.
We will be judged on actions and not just our words. I'm proud of our Labour values, but they're not enough if we do not have a plan to put them into practice. It's no good acknowledging the mistakes if they're not put right.
Less popular but respected as an efficient operator is the Health Secretary Wes Streeting. And there's a wild card in the shape of the Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham. He enjoys strong support from both the public and within the Labour Party, but is not currently a Member of Parliament and therefore not able to stand for the leadership. For now, Keir Starmer is clinging on to power, but there's no doubt his hold is weakening by the hour.
So is the Prime Minister facing a real leadership crisis, or is it just Westminster panic after bad election results? I put that question to Mark Shanahan. He's an Associate Professor of Political Engagement at the University of Surrey in the UK.
No, it's a real leadership crisis for him. This has been building for a while. Last week's election results, which didn't change any MPs. He still has a huge incumbency. He has a majority in Westminster of more than 150 people. These were local elections for English councils, for the Scottish Parliament and for the Welsh Parliament. Labour did badly across all fronts. And that has given a little bit more bravery, a little bit more boldness to those who oppose him. So what we've had across the weekend and into the start of this week is more and more MPs coming forward saying that they're not satisfied with Starmer's approach, the way that he's delivering government. He's been Prime Minister now for almost 2 years, but they feel that it's time he moves on and has someone who can really deliver a progressive Labour agenda come in his place, because they've got 3 years to the next election. The feeling is that Labour can still win. It has this huge incumbency. But if they stick with Keir Starmer, they will lose the next election. And a lot of MPs don't want to be out of a job.
Now, Labour won a landslide less than 2 years ago. Now Starmer is having the lowest approval rating of all prime ministers in history, if I'm informed correctly. How has it gone this wrong this quickly?
So Labour only actually won just over a third of the vote in the 2024 election. There was a lot of tactical voting, and the main driver behind getting people out to vote was to get the Conservative government out. They'd been in office for 14 years. There was a great weariness with them across the country. And rather than any great enthusiasm for Starmer and for his Labour government, it was anyone but Tory, anyone but Conservative. So we got a huge number of Labour MPs in. They were the best positioned to take a lot of the seats across the UK. We also got a lot of Liberal Democrats. We got some other parties breaking through. In our local elections, we've seen the demise of two-party politics. We now have 5 parties battling it out with pretty equal shares in many places. So the model isn't working, his policies aren't working, and he's seen as rather lackluster and colourless as a leader. We want credibility, we want authenticity, we want competence, but we also want a bit of charisma, and he's probably indexing fairly low on all 4 of those counts at the moment.
Now, Labour is losing voters to Reform UK on the right and the Greens on the left. Where is something to gain for Labour? Which way should they turn?
It's probably not a case of turning right or left. By focusing perhaps too much on reform and on the issues of immigration, they've lost a lot of their traditional votes. They've lost people who actually believe in a more welcoming nation. The Greens are biting at their heels on the left. A lot of younger voters have switched away from Labour to the Greens, but they could be lured back fairly quickly and fairly easily if we had the kind of traditional Labour platform that people expected after the 2024 election. We didn't get that. We've had a lot of Conservative continuity government, partly driven by the tight fiscal situation, partly just by global affairs. But this has not been seen to be a brave government delivering a progressive agenda. And a more progressive agenda probably would bring us back to more of a traditional left-right split. The right is split between the Conservatives and Reform as we speak. The Greens are really interesting, but it will be interesting to see if they're anything more than a protest vote at a general election. There is absolutely all to play for at the moment. But it seems that Keir Starmer is not popular as the team captain.
Now, if Labour dumps another Prime Minister mid-term, does it risk looking like the Conservatives during their years of chaos, which are not too far in the past?
Well, they haven't dumped many prime ministers mid-term. If you go back to the last time Labour changed prime ministers, it was a fairly well-managed handover from Tony Blair to Gordon Brown. They've had a number of leaders since while in opposition. There is the sense that Starmer was a good man to rebuild the party from a low. But there is one thing being a decent, a very careful and a very cautious campaigner to actually governing in that same way. So to govern in a way where his political instincts perhaps aren't strong, and he's picked on some very strange targets when looking at his legislation. We don't have a presidential system. We have a parliamentary system where a party is elected and the biggest party tends to govern. The Prime Minister is the first among equals. That if the party decides that somebody can lead better, then it is down to them to make that change. The problem they have is there's no really obvious candidate who at the moment can step in with a different agenda and really excite the country.
Now, my last question, a brief answer, please. If you were advising Starmer tonight, change course, change team, or just step aside?
Personally, I would say step aside. I don't think he can change course. If he changes team, it will be from within the cabinet and we'll get more of the same. If he wants Labour to win at the next election, it's probably not going to be led by him.
Dr. Mark Shannon, there, Associate Professor of Political Engagement at the University of Surrey. Thank you very much.
Thank you.